Okay, Jacob, great to see you again. For those of you who don't know Jacob, Jacob's been with us for quite some time. He was an active contributor, but other things pulled him away. He's a author at Seeking Alpha and is a regular contributor there, and probably knows more about Cassava Sciences than anybody who doesn't work at Cassava Sciences. So, Jacob, it's up 30% today. It's had a good run. Why don't you give me an overview of what you think is happening and why it's happening?
Best of Us Investors presents Carrie Griegmeyer.
Yeah, for sure, Carrie. Thank you. It's so good to be back, and I'm always so thankful to be able to come on your show because you gave me my start in this world. So I'm very thankful for that. Talking about Cassava Sciences, man, this has been an exciting day. I have a big position in Cassava Sciences for full disclosure, but really we're up almost 50% in the last 3 days, over 100% in the last month, and over 30% today. That is crazy, all those numbers, right?
And what do you think is pushing it?
Well, so the biggest, most recent event which pushed it today was the article I just released.
Okay.
And it's not that my writing was something special or anything. What it was my writing reached a new audience, which alerted them to this news that we've known about a little bit in Cassava Sciences. So the past month, really, we've known that the SEC has ended their investigation of the company, and this is
Okay,
critical news.
give us a little background on the investigation.
Yeah, for sure. So this is critical news because the last time we saw a major drop was when was over the summer when Reuters, I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Reuters.
Reuters dropped an article on the company and saying that the DOJ was investigating the company. And it has already been known that the SEC was investigating the company for a while due to a citizens petition, which caused the initial drop from 2 summers ago from 150 down to 50.
Yeah.
And so now this most recent article over the summer dropped it from, about 30 down to 15.
Yeah, it went from July of 21 to 150 to about 14 of July of 2022.
Yeah, which is, as I was covering it, and it's very, very discouraging. But what I believe happened, and many people, including the CEO of the company, at his most recent talk, he was at a healthcare conference, said this has been one of the largest short and distort ever to happen. And so what that means is people who have a short position, who are betting on the stock to go down, release information or do things that causes poor information to come out and the stock to fall.
Mm-hmm.
So this happened. The citizens petition came out basically from some very high profile individuals who, interesting enough, are working on a very similar drug after they had been shown Cassava's drug under an NDA agreement a few years prior. So that's a little bit interesting. Who are short the stock, basically petitioned to the FDA for them to stop all trials on this drug. And that was the first big thing. SEC then starts looking into this. This stock was the #1 performing stock of 2021. And then it's now gone down, like you said, 90%. So the SEC is all over this because how can the stock that was the top performing stock that's up like 20 times in 1 year and then goes down 90%? We need to look into this.
Yeah.
So they look into this. They had an investigation from other Freedom of Information Act requests. We've been able to determine it was 46 boxes of information worth or 6 gigabytes of data. Remy Barbier, the CEO of Cassava Sciences, has stated that he gave over 100,000 documents to different government organizations for these investigations. And so we know that they were doing this massive investigation. The SEC was the DOJ. And now we know from a Freedom of Information Act that the SEC has a case closing recommendation letter. We do not know what was in this letter because that you're not allowed to see that, but we know that the case has been closed, which means that the SEC has officially stopped their investigation. And when I wrote about this in my most recent article, it alerted it to many people, and other news outlets were able to pick it up, which distributed further and further. And anytime the SEC stops looking into a company, that's a very big catalyst for the company. So that's really what the most recent spike of 30% today was. It wasn't necessarily my article. It was more people finding out, hey, this company that we really liked in summer 2021, but went through this massive, all these questions and all the water was muddy. Well, now it's starting to clear up because the SEC is not looking into them.
Okay, what we haven't covered is, what is this drug they're working on?
Yeah, for sure. That's the ultimate question here.
Yeah.
And so they're working on an Alzheimer's drug. And until, when Aduhelm from Biogen was approved last summer, very controversially, there wasn't an Alzheimer's drug that had been approved for over 10 years. The last one was Aricept, which is an ACE inhibitor under the generic name of donepezil now. So why does this matter? Plenty of companies have worked on Alzheimer's. There's already some drugs on the market. Why is this so important? Well, this is the thing. The current drugs on the market only really work for 6 months.
Okay.
Billions of dollars have been spent on Alzheimer's disease research, resulting in a 99.6% failure rate in drug development. And then this company comes out of nowhere with data saying, well, not only do we have a drug that works, now we also have 100 patients at 12 months who have, on average, reversed the memory they've lost. And all this is delivered in a small pill, whereas other solutions like Aduhelm are delivered by an IV, which is both expensive and difficult to do.
Yeah.
So we have a great delivery performance with over 250,000 doses given and no safety side effects, incredible cognition data, and the stock is unheard of. That's what really it causes massive rise in the fall,
Right.
or last summer, and then it continued why so many people are so interested in the stock, because if this drug approved, the senior I wrote about this in the article, the senior equity research analyst from Bloomberg stated, if you can develop a small molecule pill, so just a simple pill like Cassava Sciences does, called Simufilm, that can improve cognition, it would become the most successful product in pharmaceutical history. Now, for us to learn some history here, the best-selling drug of all time currently is Lipitor, which is owned by Pfizer. That drug had over 150 billion of revenue, and in 2000, so over 20 years ago, the company that produced it, right as it was getting approved, was acquired for $110 billion.
So what is Cassava's market cap right now?
$2 billion. And it was $1 billion before this run up.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Like, I'm sure the wheels are starting to turn. You're like, it has this massive potential. We're at a small market cap. This is impressive, the big thing, but because of all the failures in the industry, no one is suspecting for them to get it approved, and that's really where this debate lies. Will they get the drug approved or will they not?
Now, as I understand, and they've gone through phase 3, which had, did you say 100 participants?
Yeah, so actually they're in the middle of phase 3 trials.
Okay.
They've gone through phase 2 trials and had very successful data, and then they've had an open label study. So an open label study, everybody knows they're on the drug. There's no placebo. And of the 100 people who have taken it so far, about 63% improved their cognition. 21% had a slower rate of decline than expected. So 84% of people who took it had a positive benefit from the drug. At the end of the year, we're going to receive 100 more patients from that. So we'll have 200 people who have taken the drug for a year open label. And then the phase 3 trial is currently enrolling. There's over 500 people enrolled. There's 2 phase 3 trials. One is 750 people. The other is 1,000. And those will both be concluded before mid-2023. or mid 2024. So we should have a result on if the drug is approved or not, and that's what everyone's waiting for, before the end of 2024.
If I remember correctly, the Biogen drug basically claimed that it stopped loss of memory. It didn't improve.
Yeah.
Is that okay? So this is a step even better than what Biogen was. And then, as you said, it got into some difficulties, and I think they have just pretty much pulled that back.
So I'm going to use a quote from Dr. Robert Howard. He's a well-known professor for clinical trial design. He said, in this area, we regard slowing or stopping of cognitive decline as a win.
Yeah.
And there's another quote out there. I wasn't able to find it. I don't remember where I saw it, but they said, if you're able to develop a drug that reverses the cognition, you would win a Nobel Prize.
Okay, excellent. Now, the other thing I've read, it seems like there's been some insider buying activity.
Yeah.
Bring us up to date on that.
So if you recall earlier in this, I mentioned that in the last month, the stock's been up over 100%. Now, the start of that run was from insider buying. I believe that it was a total of 4 insiders made open market buys that totaled over $3 million. So why is that important? Well, one, insiders know more than everyone else. So if they buy it, that's a very big vote of confidence. Number 2, they were open market buys. Typically,
tell me what that means.
Yeah, so typically if you're working at a company, many of the viewers will know this. You get paid in stock options, so you basically get gifted shares.
Okay.
So these people these weren't gifted shares. They went and bought shares on the open market just by like going down to the brokerage and bought them with cash. That's a very bullish because they already have shares, number 1. Number 2, they get gifted shares, but they wanted even more, so they went and bought them with cash. That's very rare to see.
Yeah.
So they know more than everyone else. They bought a bunch of shares. And the last time that they bought shares on the open market like this, that was when that was in November of 2020. Well,
and we know that because if I understand, they legally have to report that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so the last time,
Securities and Exchange Commission.
Yes. And it's a form they have to fill out, and they file it with the SEC. So the last time they bought was November of 2020. Shortly after, they released their first breakthrough data, which was in January of 2021. And then from January to the summer of 2021, they were the best performing stock of the year. So last time, and this time, I haven't looked at the rankings, but considering that they're up 100% in the last, a little over a month, they might be the best performing stock over that time period, especially with the market tanking.
Yeah, most definitely. So we know that July of 2021, it was at $146.16, and today it's at about $49.04 or $50 a share. So if it reaches its last high, that's a 3xer.
Yeah, and I've publicly stated this. I would be disappointed if it was under $1,000 a share if the drug was approved. So if we get to 2024 and the drug is approved and is under $1,000 a share, I think that would be very surprising and a disappointment. Some people have even higher price targets of $2,000-$3,000 a share, but I keep a relatively conservative 1,000 a share.
Okay, I think I'll make a note of that, Jacob.
Well, and that sounds crazy, but what's important to remember, like I said, if this was approved and they're able to repeat the data we've seen with an open label data. So the CEO likes to say this: if a drug doesn't work in open label trials, it's not going to work in phase 3 trials. And right now, the drug works in open label trials. If they were to repeat that data, they don't even need to repeat it to get approved. But if they were to repeat that data, we're looking at a Nobel Prize for people in the company, and we're looking at the best-selling drug of all time. So that's a massive opportunity. But granted, we haven't really talked about the risks. Again, 99.6% of Alzheimer's disease drugs that have been researched have failed. There was a 20-year drought with billions of dollars spent where no drug was able to be approved. So this is a very difficult area to invest in, and for that reason, this is not guaranteed money. This is just, in my opinion, I've stated the best risk to reward in the stock market. It's a very asymmetrical bet. You know, you risk $100 but have the opportunity to gain 1,000.
Right. Okay. This is exciting. I remember when you first told me about this. I think we did a interview on it. What, about a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, this is exciting. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah. I just want to mention 5 upcoming catalysts. So at the end of the year, we're going to get 100 more patients to get a total of 200 patients of 12 months of data. And that'll be probably November, December. Around that same time, we're going to get 25 patients at that 12-month data point with biomarkers. So we'll be able to see something important to remember. AutoHelm from Biogen was approved solely on biomarkers because they didn't have good cognition data. So Cassava Sciences, they have the cognition data, but then they also have it. Last time they tested more biomarkers than any other Alzheimer's disease company does. They tested 11, so we're going to hopefully see some very positive biomarkers.
Is this a possible buyout by some big pharmaceutical company, and what is their financial strength at this point?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So the company went through this massive share price drop and everything. And you're like, well, they probably got screwed fundraising. Well, that's not the case because the company had raised when they were at those really high prices. The company has 197 million in cash with 0 debt and has enough to last them through their phase 3 trials. So that would be when they would be approved or denied. So the company has enough money to get to them to the point where they would be approved and easily able to raise more money or denied. And the stock would be somewhat over by then. As for buyout, that is a very tricky question, because if this is the case that they have the goods and they're able to get approved, no company really could afford this. They would be asking for so much money that I don't think any company could afford it. So I think it's more likely we see a partnership, or potentially the selling of foreign rights. So the company fully owns worldwide rights to their drug. So I could see them, for example, selling all the rights to Europe and Asia, which would bring in a big capital inflow, and then keeping and partnering the US, because at the end of the day, the CEO has said he doesn't want to bring the drug to market himself, but he's also said he wants to make Austin a capital for biotech where his company is headquartered. And recently the company spent 20 million buying a massive 2-building complex in Austin. So, and where the company only has 10 employees. So they bought these big offices. Yeah.
They only have 10 employees?
Because it's a research company. Everything else is outsourced. All the trials, everything is outsourced. So they have 10 employees and you buy these big offices, and you've said you want to make Austin the biotech capital. It sounds like
big plans.
It sounds like you have some plans to do that. You really can't sell out. So I don't think there'll be a buyout. But I would be surprised if there wasn't some form of a partnership.
Is the CEO the founder?
Yes. He's been at the company for about 20 years. And actually the lead scientist was a silver medal in the Olympics, and went to Harvard undergrad, and then Cambridge PhD. And she's actually his wife. So the company is led by these 2 individuals who have lots of shares and whose value aligns with shareholders because they want to see this succeed. So I always love seeing that high insider ownership means that they want the share price to go up. They don't want just bonuses.
Right. And they stand to make the big win by not selling to someone else.
Yeah. And again, there's more at this now than before, because now the company has been insulted to no ends publicly from people. People last time when it first fell, the CEO's wife, Dr. Lindsay Burns, who is an exceptional scientist, she was presenting at a conference and she got ripped and was referred to as the CEO's wife, not as a scientist, but as the CEO's wife. And
Getting ugly.
yeah, and so you have to think that's personal for the CEO and the leadership. They want to see this succeed more than anyone, just to show that, you know, they did good. Their names were dragged through the mud to no ends, and for the financial benefit. So I think, you know, if you want to see a company where the leaders want to succeed, it's going to be hard to find one more than this one right now in this situation.
Okay, this is terrific. I have to ask, what did she silver medal in?
Rowing.
Rowing. Okay.
Yeah. So she rowed at Harvard and then went on to Olympics.
Oh, like single scull, or
I believe it was doubles.
Doubles. Okay. Well, that's cool. I'm going to have to look her up. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. She's a very interesting person if you look at her background.
Okay. All right. Well, this is great. I'm glad we were able to connect on this, and let's get it out to our tribe, and I'll also make a point to get it out. Probably it'll go out Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. And I would highly recommend the Seeking Alpha, my last two ones, for anyone who's wants a little bit more written information about
I'll put a link to that in the description. That was recorded Thursday afternoon, and Cassava closed at about $50 a share. Now, this morning it's down to about $43 a share. But I really want the message to be not so much of Cassava Science specifically, but this is where the revolution, this is where the big money is going to be made in the next 5 years. This in the medical revolution, whether it's Cassava Sciences, Editus, CRISPR, Caribou, the world is changing relative to from health care to health cure, and we're going to find the cure to the diseases that controlled in the past our lifespan. You and I, if we live long enough, we can live forever. That's what I want to bring to you. I want to give you foresight rather than hindsight, and I don't want you worrying about interest rates and inflation. That will be taken care of. This is where the opportunity is, and that's where I want to take you. That's Best of Us Investors. Talk to you again tomorrow.